Defense Secretary strongly defending this decision. He was defiant, saying it was legal. The administration, in his view, didn't break any laws, said that they had a fleeting opportunity to get Bergdahl. And he also said he wasn't a hostage. For more reaction to what we've been hearing from the Secretary of Defense, Bret Stephens joins us now. He's the foreign affairs columnist at the Wall Street Journal. Bret, your review.
Well, look, let's start with the most important point. Ultimately, this is not about Sgt Bergdahl. This is about the administration. It's about the president. It's about the reasons he sought this trade. I don't think they've been really clarified. It's about the way he treated the Bergdahl trade, not as an agonizing moral choice, but as an opportunity to take a political victory. And it's about the consequences that the United States and Afghanistan faces for the release of extremely hardened men in exchange for the sergeant. So I don't think we really need to have a conversation about whether Bergdahl deserted or the circumstances of his captivity. That's a conversation lots of people will have.
What do you think the consequences of this decision will be?
Well, I mean, they're terrible for Afghanistan because Afghanistan, an Afghan government that's trying to stand on its feet, is now going to face a Taliban that has its old commanders back, that has been given a great lease on life after a defeat for it, effectively a defeat for it in recent elections. But the consequences are going to be much greater for the United States because we've shown that under certain circumstances we will release some of the worst people for the sake of a prisoner. You can make an argument that this was maybe a tough call, but I suspect that we will and future Americans will be held at risk precisely because we made this trade.
In fact, last week you wrote a column called "The Bergdahl Dishonor." What did you mean by that?
Well, the dishonor wasn't really about the circumstances of Bergdahl leaving, although I spoke with a special forces operator, by the way, who contradicts Secretary Hagel's testimony, and says that American lives were lost and were put at risk, and that's been a fact that's been something that's been reported by many major news outlets. So there's partly the issue of the circumstances of how he left, but mainly it's about an administration that looks at every trade like this as an opportunity to play politics with American national security and American lives. And I think that's really where the dishonor where the dishonor lies.
Now, Secretary Hagel, of course, would dispute your conclusions on that, saying that they've sent a message that wherever you are, that America will not forget you and come back and grab you. But on that one point, several times he said there was, quote, no direct evidence that there were any deaths in that search for Bergdahl. Bottom line.
Right.
How could he say that?
Well, the bottom line is that is something that was contradicted by a special forces operator who was involved, whom I spoke with, who was involved in the early attempts to get Bergdahl. Maybe the secretary is right, but there's no question that a lot of Americans were put in harm's way searching for the sergeant. So I think that's a very easy assertion for him to make. It's our job in the media to really follow that up quite closely, because let's even assume that no American lives were lost. How many American assets were moved in order to search for the sergeant? How many people were put at additional risk, especially in the early days, looking for Sergeant Bergdahl's whereabouts? That's a very cavalier comment, and I think it's extraordinary cavalier for him to say that we're going to be able to find these guys. We know very well that finding Taliban commanders, like the head of the Taliban itself, Mullah Omar, is something that has eluded us for 12 years. So the confidence that he displays, I don't think, is in keeping with the realities and the circumstances we've discovered either in Afghanistan or Pakistan, especially when all American forces get out under President Obama's direction by 2016.
All right, Bret Stephens, thank you so much for your analysis. Of course, this is not going away anytime soon. Good to see you.
See you.